Emily Newman of Emily Ann Art Studio, and I am so incredibly honored and excited to be partnering with Strathmore to create some educational content with you guys. I'm really excited to share my process as well as how to use some really incredible materials and kind of walk you through what I do and why I do it. I have struggled greatly with depression throughout my entire adult life, and painting has truly become an absolute therapy for me. I have just found that using my hands to create something from nothing has brought just absolute incredible freedom and joy. I use a variety of different mediums to kind of appeal to different parts of my personality. I love to use fluid paints like watercolor or acrylic ink to kind of remind myself that I'm not in control. When you mix pigments and water, there's this brilliant dance that happens that really you can't control. And so it just kind of screams at me as I lay the paint down on the paper or the canvas. Emily, you are not in control here. This is about the process and not the end result. The next step in my process, I typically add some line work and mark making. I love to use chalk pastels, but I've also been known to use things like crayons, pens, markers, anything to create kind of some interest and detail into the work. I love to follow the movement that the pigment and the water have created and enhance it with my line work. This really appeals to the structured A-type part of my personality. The last step of my process is using a palette knife actually to add some heavy body acrylic to my paintings. I love creating a 3D effect and adding texture to my work so that it really sets it apart from just a print that you could purchase at Target, Walmart, Home Goods, anywhere, and instead having an original piece of art that's almost alive and brings it to life inside your home. I'm so excited to walk through some of these different mediums, how I use them, what kind of tools I use in the process, and introduce you to more of my work. Before I get started in the actual painting process, I'm going to walk you through some of the different materials that I will be using. I have a variety of materials that I'm going to use as we walk through this whole process together. And the first is the System 3 Daler-Rowney acrylic inks. I love to use a lot of really muted, beautiful colors together, and so I tend to mix white and brown almost into all of my colors. So I think on these two large canvases that we will be working on throughout this process, I'm going to be mixing some of these different materials together. The next step in the process to create my line working and mark making, I'm going to use some of these Polycolor pencils. I am really excited to use, there's such a huge variety of colors here, and they will react somewhat differently when the canvas is wet versus dry. I'll probably also use some soft pastels. The last part of the process, I will be introducing some of these heavy body acrylics with some super cool tools. I have these new Catalyst brushes by Princeton. They have kind of a rubber tip, as well as these handhold wedges that are really great for scooping and applying paint in a really heavy fashion. The things I will be applying with these tools is the System 3 acrylic. I don't typically use anything straight out of a tube, so I will be mixing and including you in my thought process there. I am often asked about my color palette and how I decide what direction I want to go in. But I'll be honest, I am a completely intuitive painter and I kind of just grab whatever I'm feeling in the moment. I don't do a lot of planning. I kind of see each layer of my process as enhancing the last. So I never lay down the first part of my painting and dislike it and start over. Instead, I take the next layer as I add the line work and then add the heavy body acrylic, as you can kind of see behind me, and layer them on top of each other and just create layers, one enhancing the other. I love embracing the imperfect, and I think that that's one way that my painting has really helped me to grow as a person, is that therapeutic aspect of whatever happens on the canvas, but it can still be beautiful. So when those little imperfections happen, I'm able to reflect on those imperfections in myself and see them as beautiful and as part of the process, and layering on top of and layering and layering, and in the end creating something that's absolutely beautiful. I know that this first video was really just introducing you to myself and what's coming, but I hope you'll join me for the next video as I lay a foundation for 2 large abstract pieces. I will be working on these big Strathmore canvases, and I cannot wait to share this process with you.